on the 2023 call, just a moment, of the Marie Sklodowska-Curie staff exchanges and how Swiss-based institutions can participate. My name is Sibylla Martinelli. Today, a representative from the European Research Executive Agency, Nancy Zoccotto-Pomegna, is giving you an introduction to the MSCA staff exchanges. Isabel Spüler, our national contact point for the MSCA, will explain to you how institutions based in Switzerland can participate in the MSCA staff exchanges. And we will also have a testimonial of a successful applicant, Professor Philippe Krebs, before we will answer then questions you might have. For your information, and before we start, this event will be recorded. I started the recording now, and I will stop it before the question and answer session starts. The recording will be uploaded on our webpage in the next few days, and you will receive the slides of the presentations as well as the link to the recording via email shortly after this event in a follow-up email. If you have questions, please try to put them in the Q&A box. You see here, I show you on the slide the bar, and I highlighted where you find this Q&A box, and we will try to answer your questions in the course of the next hour, like in our Q&A session at the end of this event. And if questions should remain unanswered, you can also send an email to msca@euresearch.ch. And now I would like to introduce to you our first speaker, the speaker from the European Research Executive Agency in Brussels, Nancy Zoccotto-Pomegna. Nancy is working as a project advisor at the Research Executive Agency, and she has worked before for several years at the European Commission as policy officer and project advisor, and also as program manager, as far as I know. I will give the word now, with no further ado, to her for an introduction to the MSCA staff exchanges. We are really happy to have you, Nancy. Your microphone is still muted. We can see your presentation in full screen mode.
Okay.
And
is
now
it okay now?
Yes, perfect.
All right. I'm very glad to be here with you. Thanks a lot for your kind words. It's a pleasure for me to present to you the staff exchanges. Indeed, I worked for about 15 years for the European Commission on Africa-EU relations, and now I'm a project advisor at the European Research Executive Agency, working on the staff exchanges. With no further ado, I'm going to start the presentation. I think I have 20 minutes and I'm going to try to stick to the time. So we will start with the policy background of the staff exchanges to set the frame and the context of this program that is part of Pillar 1 Excellent Science of Horizon Europe. And it is part of the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions, which aims at equipping researchers with new knowledge and skills through mobility and training with an amount about 6.6 billion euros. So as you can see, there are several actions within MSCA, the doctoral networks, the postdoc fellowship, co-fund, MSCA and citizens, and our program, which is the staff exchanges, which aims at equipping researchers and organizations through mobility and training. What are the main features of the staff exchanges? There are about 4 objectives, I'd say, and the main aim is to fund mobility and in research and innovation. First objective is to transfer knowledge between participating organizations. Second is to enhance the collaboration between universities and the private sector, because we really want to make a link between research and innovation and to transform ideas into innovation. One key feature of the program is that it's a bottom-up program, but I'll dig into that later on in the presentation. Okay, so the first point I want to highlight is the eligibility. So who could participate in the secondments? The secondments are foreseen for any person involved in research and innovation. So it can be anyone from researchers to administrative staff, managerial staff, and so on. And they can be at any stage of their career. The only thing is that they have to be hired 1 month prior at the ascending institution before the secondment. 3 key principles. The secondment has to be from 1 to 12 months. The staff has to be committed to the program, so they have to be full-time working on the action, and to allow the transfer of knowledge, they have to return to the standing institution. Now, very briefly, I'm not going to go into details because I think that you will have further details at a later stage, the other presentation. But I thought that this slide was quite straightforward to explain you very briefly the eligibility of secondments. So the main focus is, exchanges within EU member states and associated countries. In principle, it should be intersectoral, meaning between universities and the private sector, to allow that research is transformed into innovation. But there is an exception now with Horizon Europe, and sometimes you can have exchanges among universities and universities, or industries and industries. But this type of secondments have to represent 1/3 of the total amount of the secondments, and they have to be interdisciplinary, meaning in different scientific disciplines. So, as you can see here, you can also have exchanges with third country partners, being low and medium, but the thing is that we don't finance exchanges of high-income country to European member states or associated country beneficiaries, and we only focus funding on low, medium income third country coming to Europe, and of course, secondments from EU member states and associated countries to third country. It's very straightforward to manage. The good thing is that it's a unit cost program, so that's good news for you. It implies less administrative burden. Half of the money is provided to the staff and half for the organization. So the money that is provided for the staff is mainly a kind of allowance. It's not a salary. The person has to receive still the salary from his sending institution, but this allowance is supposed to fund, like for instance, all the costs that are linked to the secondment, being the hotel, or everything linked to the food and so on, travel costs. And the other half is really to manage the program, to finance training, research training, and networking activities. Now, having said that, I want to highlight 5 key features first. So as I said earlier, it's a bottom-up program, which means that it gives you a lot of flexibility to present the proposal that you think are worth it to contribute to EC policy goals and to boost your research and innovation in your organization. So it can really touch upon all scientific disciplines. A program is usually for 4 years, which is 360 person months. As I said earlier, there is necessity for secondments to be for 1 to 12 months per person. And if they are within Europe or member states or associated countries, they can still be between universities and universities, or industries and industries, but they have to be interdisciplinary and they have to represent up to 1/3 of the total amount of the secondments. Again, it's a unit cost, half for the staff, half for the organization, which makes the program more easy to manage. For you to know, the average funding for a call is about 77 million euro. What you have to know also is that this program is a small action with a big impact. So it's a worldwide program with the highest participation of non-EU countries. It's also a very business-oriented program because businesses receive an estimated 20% of the available funding. Concretely, we also have a high percentage of patents because 37 patents of all patents in MSCA actions are generated through the staff exchanges. And another encouraging feature of the program is that the success rate is quite high. It's about 40% depending on the discipline. And it's a first step to other EU funding that are more challenging to access. Now, how can you benefit from the staff exchanges? There, you see in the slide, several benefits that you can have. So your employees can be trained and they can have their skills enhanced, being in contact with different organizations and peers. They can make use of research infrastructures that they would not usually have in your organization, convert ideas into tangible assets, which is good for the universities to have this kind of contact with the market, but it's also good for companies that can access researchers of high quality and can be updated to the latest research and innovations. Now, having said that, you can also create a talent pool for employee recruitment and establish collaborative networks. I think that's a very good point about the program. And of course, you have the transfer of knowledge between organizations and access to expert knowledge. I think you'll know more about that in the testimonial later on. Now, checking about the time. Okay, I still have about 10 minutes, a little bit less. So proposal submission and evaluation, I'll give you a first insight about it, and I think you'll have more information later on. Concretely, what to do if you want to apply. So first of all, you have to build what we call a consortia. And there are some minimal conditions, as you can see. So you have to have 3 independent legal entities. That's quite easy to understand, I think, in 3 different countries, and 2 have to be in EU member states or associated country. If all these organizations here in EU member states or associated countries are based in Europe, then you have to have 1 entity in a third country. You will find the link to submit a proposal on the funding and tender portal. Here is the link, as you can see. And what you need is you go, you find your call, you sign in. You can also find partners, and then you can apply. Now, when you go here in the research tab, you type MSCA staff exchanges, and you will find a call for 23. You have a couple of documents to help you to apply, such as the Guide of Applicants, which is one of the most important. You have proposal templates, online manuals, MSCA programs, work programs, frequently asked questions, and a model grant agreement that will help you concretely to build your proposal later on. Now, I'm not going to go too much into detail, but to give you an idea, proposal is composed of 2 parts. Part A, where you have more like the administrative data, and part B, that is about the content of the research and innovation of your proposal and how you intend to present your exchanges and secondments. We have a couple of criteria to evaluate the proposals. As you can see, you have 3 criteria. The first is excellence, the second is impact, and the third is about quality and efficiency of implementation. most important one is excellence, and impact is about 30%, with quality and efficiency of implementation about 20%. What we look at for excellence is, first of all, the quality and pertinence of research and innovation objectives, whether you have a sound proposed methodology, including the gender dimension and open science practices, and how you intend to interact with participating organizations. Of course, we want to have a meaningful impact on research and innovation, and this is what our evaluators are going to assess. We will look at whether you will develop research collaborations, achieve transfer of knowledge at the European and global levels, how your proposal will enhance career perspectives and maximize outcomes and impacts for the society, but also for the economy and for the society, for the societal impact in general. Last criteria is also important and should not be forgotten, because it's going to be key for a successful implementation of your project. So we will assess in criteria 3 the quality and efficiency of the implementation, mainly the work plan, how you identify risk and how you also are going to mitigate them, the quality, capacity, and role of each participant, their expertise, and their operational and financial capacities. I'm going to give you quickly some tips and tricks on how to be successful. So first of all, it's quite obvious, but I'm going to tell you anyway, it's that you have to closely follow the call requirements and to respond to what we expect in line with actions, objectives, and expected outcomes. And follow the guidelines, so really have a deeper look about the documents and the templates that you'll find in the website to address all evaluation criteria that I mentioned earlier. Highlight the EU dimension, of course, because it's a program funded by the European Union. And we, of course, want to have an impact on EU policy priorities, for instance, the Green Deal or, growth and innovation. Of course, you can contact your NCP contact point, and I'm sure they are going to be pleased to support you in proofreading the proposal and give you some tips and advice. And also someone who could give you a second opinion on that. And one important point is, of course, that even if it's projects, we really want them to be sustainable in the longer term and in the medium term. Some key dates for you to know about the current ongoing call. So it opened on the 5th of October, but you still have time to do your proposal, because the call closure is going to be on the 28th of February 24. This year, there is a budget about 78.5 million euros. And if you want to know more and you have more questions about the call and the program, you can attend the info session on the 8th of December 23. That is now announced, I think, on their website. Something I also wanted to share with you is that you can work as an expert if you want to contribute to the evaluation of our proposals, of REA proposals, or if you want to be a monitor of actions, grant agreements, and public procurement contracts. So here again is the link in case you want to contribute as an expert. And now, if you have some questions and answers, I am at your disposal. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I hope the presentation was useful.
It was. Thank you very much, Nancy, for explaining how the MSCA staff exchanges work in such a nice way, as you did.
Okay.
Thanks
You're
a lot.
welcome.
We will take the questions at the end of the session, and if you have questions, you just put them in the Q&A box, please. So now, as you all probably know, Switzerland has not yet been associated to Horizon Europe and is in a bit a particular situation with regards to participation. and therefore, my colleague Isabel Spürler, who is the national contact point for the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions, will explain now how Switzerland-based institutions can participate in the MSCA staff exchanges. Thank you very much, Isabel.
Thank you, Sibylla. Thank you so much, Nancy. I hope you can hear me well and that you see the slides. So in the next 15 minutes, I would like to focus more what it means now in this call as an institution in Switzerland, how to participate in a staff exchange call. But let me take first a step back and to introduce our team. So we are 3 national contact points in Switzerland for the MSCA program. You have met already Sibylla Martinelli, myself, and there's also Veronique Sorde. So we are a team of 3 to answer your specific questions related to MSCA, especially for the Swiss participation. We are all part of the Euresearch organization. Euresearch has the mandate to advise and support applicants from Switzerland for EU programs. So you can find information at our website, euresearch.ch. Our services are free of charge. And we are organized as a network. So you see here we have colleagues in the regions that support you also about the regional realities. So for instance, we have the grants office at the University of Bern or in Zurich, and they can also support you what it actually means when you want to implement then the action. And just also one step back about MSCA in general, just the mindset. I think this is very important to keep in mind. Nancy has already touched upon this. So MSCA is a larger program that has 5 actions, and the staff exchange is one of these 5 actions. All of them 5 actions have in common that it's about mobility, but also about training and career development. So the idea in the staff exchange, for instance, is that you can enlarge your skill sets and knowledge by mobility, by going to secondments. You also see in the staff exchange the international dimension that is a key feature in the MSCA, and they are completely bottom up. So there's no predefined topic that gets priority, but you as an applicant, you're completely free to come up with an idea what research topic or what project should be tackled. And it's open to all domains of research. So now I want to dive in the situation of Switzerland in Horizon Europe. And this is very important because how institutions can participate in the program depends on the country they are located. So a research institution in a member state or a country associated to Horizon Europe has different possibilities to participate than an institution in a so-called non-associated third country. And since Switzerland is not an EU member state, Switzerland has to negotiate its association to Horizon Europe and is currently considered a non-associated third country. The consequences are the following. So Swiss institutions can only participate as associated partners in a staff exchange call. And this means that they are not eligible to receive European funding. The Swiss government, the Swiss State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation, we abbreviate to SERI, they provide funding, national funding to Swiss institutions if the proposal is successful. The costs from the Swiss institutions don't count towards the given European limit. So there's also here the website horizon/europe.ch. This is the official website from the Swiss State Secretariat, where you also find information and FAQ about the status of Switzerland. Now, you have seen also in the presentation, this is a bit of a repetition, but beneficiaries can only be member states, country associated to Horizon Europe, or third countries of low to middle income countries. Of course, they can also be associated partners. However, Switzerland can only be associate partner because it's not a third country of a low or middle income country. It's just the other third country. So as an associated partners, Swiss institutions don't sign the grant agreement, However, they can receive secondments of staff, they can provide training, and they can't claim directly cost. So you see here, secondment of staff is a tick mark, but only for low and middle income countries. So now I want to go more into the details about eligible secondments. So this is a graph that you will find in the official documents. It's a matrix, so you have to get your head around. So you see here hosting and sending institutions, academic or non-academic from member states or associated countries in the first boxes here. So here you see the rule of the 1/3. Then you have the associated party eligible for funding. This is basically the third countries of low middle income. They can't have secondments among themselves. And associated parties of non-eligible for funding are in this row. So you see here, and this I would like to solve this matrix in a graphic. So eligible for fundings, you see here when I make here the graphs of EU member states, associated country, academic or non-academic. Then you have here third country, low to middle income, independent, academic or non-academic, and the other third country like Switzerland. Now, EU funds secondments across sector. Within the same sector is only 1/3 of the entire amount of secondments. And they fund also secondments between EU member states, so the country, and the third country, low to middle income. They also fund secondments to the other third country, meaning that secondments from European member states to Switzerland is eligible for funding. Secondments that are not eligible are, so let's say Switzerland is here, secondments from Switzerland to EU member states or associate countries, academic or non-academic, doesn't matter. All those secondments are not eligible for European funding. And secondments from Switzerland to low or middle income are not eligible neither for European funding. So this is now where the Swiss State Secretary jumps in. So since secondments between third countries are ineligible by definition, however, the secondments from Switzerland to EU member states or associate country, those are eligible for Swiss national funding. So you can include these secondments into your proposal, and once it's successful, the Swiss government would fund these secondments. So now I want to go a little bit more into the proposal writing, because it is important that all these secondments are also described in the proposal, because this will give the legal basis to the Swiss government to pay them, because the secondments or the contribution needs to be evaluated on European level. Okay, so the Swiss government does not do a second evaluation round. Basically, what has been successfully evaluated on European level is then eligible for national funding. So when we go now to part A, you see here the budget table. Please be aware the secondments from Swiss institutions to European member states as countries are not part of the budget table, because this is the budget table for the European funding. Okay, so here you don't include the Swiss secondments. Now, even more important is part B1, because this is the part of the proposal that will be evaluated. And I would like to start straight off in excellence, that is, of course, counting most. And it is very important to explain early on that the secondments from staff from Swiss institutions to European member states, associate countries, that these are nationally funded, not to confuse the experts reading and evaluating the proposal. So please explain this as early as possible on page 1 or 2, that in these staff exchanges, there are additionally some secondments funded from the Swiss government. So here in excellence, please describe these secondments and how they will be funded by the Swiss government. And also in table 1, you see here work package list. I also want to make you aware, Swiss institutions associated as an associated partner, they can also be work package leaders. You see it here specifically, it says lead participant. So not only beneficiaries, but also associated partners, meaning Swiss institutions can also be work package leaders, except for management. Now I jump straight to the third section, the implementation. Here it's also very important to describe the secondments that SERI should fund. So please, in the work plan, include those specifically. And again, you can mention that they will be funded by the Swiss government. So concretely, in the table 2, in the work package description, the person months of the Swiss organization should also be included with a clear reference to national funding. And then in the last part, in 3.2, here there is, in this part, it's important to explain the contributions of the associated partners and the third countries. So here is also important that you justify why the Swiss organization should be part of this consortium and participate, and how they can complement the network with secondments that are nationally funded. And also here, I would like to bring your attention to this part. It says exceptional funding if applicable. So this is sometimes one can justify that exceptionally some institutions should get European funding, even if their status would not be eligible for funding. Please don't try to explain these secondments that they should get exceptionally European funding, because the secondments from Switzerland to EU member states or associate countries receive Swiss funding, so you don't need to explain this part here. Okay, maybe this is a bit confusing. So this part is only if you want to apply for exceptional European funding. This is not about Swiss funding. The letter of commitment is still mandatory in the staff exchange action. And we also have a template for it. So here it's very important to clearly write what is the contribution of the Swiss institution as an associated partner in this project. So we have templates for the letter of commitment, and there's also now very new a template available for the consortium agreement. We can put this link also in the follow-up slides. So this is a template based on that DESCA model. This has been made by the German colleagues and also a colleague from Zurich. So this is also possible to take this template for a consortium agreement with Swiss partners. With that, I would like to conclude with just 2-3 more slides. So you have heard now a lot of information, but I think the core message that I would like to transmit is, so Swiss institutions participate as associated partner because we are a non-associated third country. Switzerland, as third country with high income, is not eligible for European funding in the MSCA staff exchange. However, there is funding for secondments from Switzerland to European member states associate country, financed by the Swiss State Secretariat. So we at Euresearch are here to inform and advise you, so please contact us anytime for your questions. Also today at the end of the webinar, we are very happy to discuss your questions. These are the 2 websites from Euresearch and the Swiss State Secretariat. And our email address is msca@euresearch.ch. Then the 3 of us will receive your email and try to reply as soon as possible. With that, I wish you all the best in the preparation of your application.
Thank you very much, Isabel. This was nice and clear. So far, so good. Now we come to the testimonial part of our event. And here I would like to welcome Professor Philippe Krebs. He is currently participating in a MSCA Staff Exchange project. And he has, apart from this, he has gained quite some experience regarding MSCA funding. He will tell you himself in his presentation, I suppose. Philip did his PhD at the Institute for Experimental Immunology at the University of Zurich. And then after a short postdoc period in Switzerland, he went to the Scripps Research Institute in California for further postdoc years before he came to the University of Bern in 2011, I think, where he is now professor and group leader at the Institute for Tissue Medicine and Pathology. We are really happy to hear from you, Philippe, how such a staff exchange project is implemented. I give the word to you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me very well. Thank you very much for the presentation, Sibylla. So I'll be happy to share with you my experience from this different staff exchange program I've participated to. Can you see my screen? Is it full screen for everyone?
Yes, it's perfectly fine.
As Sibylla said, I worked at the Institute of Tissue Medicine and Pathology. This belongs to the University of Bern, but this is located principally within the campus of the University Hospital in Bern, and the institute is located right here. Principally, the institute has different tasks. One of them is teaching. The other one is also diagnostic. So we receive samples directly from the university hospital, for which we have to do pathological analysis, but also research. And principally, since I have joined the institute for more than 10 years ago as a basic researcher, I've participated to many different EU-related project. The first one I had the chance when I joined to get like some sort of starting grant from the EU. This was called a Marie Curie Career Integration Grant. This was really very good money that helped me to initiate my group. This was in the frame of the FP7 program at the time. After that, I joined a Marie Curie Research and Innovation Staff Exchange Program, which just completed end of last year. This was a 40-month program called Discover, and including the participation of different partners. I'm also going to present it to you later. And currently, as of 2023, we just started. Actually, we had the kickoff meeting 2 weeks ago, so this is very fresh. Also, they're a participant in a new staff exchange program. And while here, this was Switzerland was participating to the European project. Here, the status is different, as you might have heard. So, and now I'd like to present you principally how this program were and what we've done so far there, and how this came up. So the previous program we had was called Discover, and as I told you, it was completed just end of last year. It was considered by different countries. The leading country was Ireland. We had people also from France, Greece, Turkey, and Switzerland. We had people who were working, or groups who were working in academia, like here or here or here, or also people associated with or like companies. And principally, as you see, this was a fairly diverse, and the aim of the consortium was to study the death receptor signaling in tumor immune editing. So we had people from different directions. So they were a company more interested in developing reagents for curing cancer. We had bioinformatic colleagues. We had people mostly interested in molecular biology, but also people interested in immunology. So as you see, like a complementary group to work toward this aim. As I told you, we had the coordination in Ireland, and we had a central budget. At the time, everything was in euro, which was very easy also for the exchanges between group. It facilitated a lot of things, and the fact that it was centralized, it was also easy for money transfer, and in particular, there were already previous collaborations between certain participants, which was certainly a reason why this consortium worked very nicely, and we had a good atmosphere and good collaboration throughout the 4 years. There was also very close ties between academia and company. As you see here, there were academia and company at quite close sites and already knew each other. So this is something that was really a plus for the exchanges. A limitation of this type of program was the fact that there would only be exchanges possible between academic and partner from the private sector. So this would have to be intersectorial and then intrasectorial, which is a limitation of this type of scheme, which is now in the new program slightly adapted. We had these finances that was a bit reduced compared to what is in the current program. And we had the included money, of course, for the staff to be sent as a secondment, and also money for the receiving lab, in particular for covering reagent costs for lab research, and also for the sending costs, and also for the management. So what was the output of my lab there? So principally, for different reasons, I was not able to send any staff out, but I was able to receive 4 different secondees from different groups for a total of 24 person month. So these people came over physically to Bern. They worked in our lab and they contributed to research at the consortium. And we were able to publish 3 peer-reviewed original publications, one of them with us as a first and last author, and 2 authorships, and also 1 review. So this is the output we had. And so based on the fact that we had quite a good successful collaboration there, we thought that it would be very nice to go on and to continue this consortium. But we had, of course, to change slightly the direction of it by adding some new partners. So this is the new consortium. It's more or less like a follow-up, and it builds up upon what we achieved in the last program. And this time we have a new industry partner from France, a new industry partner from Sweden, and also the same otherwise people here. Also a newly incomers, like a chemist from Hungary. As you see here, again, very international, representing all Europe, 7 countries, 6 academic partners, 3 companies. And the aim here is to study the non-canonical death receptor signaling. So this is again related to immunology, cancer. So with the idea to somehow able to induce small cell death into the tumor environment, so that we can better fight cancer. And this is tackled from different directions, from the bioinformatic point of view, from the chemistry point of view, immunology or molecular biology. So here, the coordination is done from Turkey, where you have 2 academic groups. This is centralized for the non-Swiss members of the consortium. I'm going to receive the budget, or I have received the budget from the Swiss government. And as I said, there was previous collaboration among certain participants, not all of them, but there are strong ties. So we think that this is going also to be quite a successful collaboration. He also has, in the previous program, close ties between academia and company, even though they are new private sector related partner who joined. And something which is better compared to the previous program, that the new staff exchange program allows some limited intersectoral exchanges between partners, which is really good. And in particular for Switzerland, Switzerland is quite neutral in this sense, so that it can receive both partners from academia and from non-academic countries. So it's a bit of a joker in terms of receiving people, and it doesn't count towards the other partner as either academic or non-academic. So which makes it principally fairly attractive for the other partner. So here we have a bit more another rearrangement of the finances, with more money for the staff to be sent, a bit less money for the receiving lab. So we have to see how we can deal with that, in particular if you have lab costs associated, but also more money for the sending partner. If I have to summarize which are the pros and the cons from these staff exchanges program I've participated to so far, I would say those are really great for networking and collaboration. They're also based on interdisciplinarity, so this might allow you to also apply for additional funding with other partners in something which is maybe more national type of funding. And also what I have to say is like Switzerland, since we are fairly lucky to be pretty well equipped usually at the universities, so we are a particularly attractive technological partner, and we had many colleagues from other European countries that came over here to Bern also in the previous program to benefit from the technology which we have here at the university. There are also, of course, things which are a bit more difficult. Is like this funding for this program only supports staff exchange. So you need to have sufficient core funding for your projects, in particular if you do fairly expensive experiments in a wet lab. And also you need to have those people which you're going to send abroad to be already actually affiliated with the institution and being paid by Swiss salary. So what you get on top is quite limited, but it allows the secondary to live fairly well in most countries in Europe. And the fact, so this is, I told you we just had the kickoff meeting 2 weeks ago, and I'm still working on a consortium agreement. But what I can say now, being from Switzerland as an associated partner, includes some more administrative burden. But so far, I have no experience as to whether this is really like a major burden or just like a side burden. But this is something that makes it a bit more difficult than it used to be. Insider tips for the application. What is important for the what you have to consider, this is maybe for those of you who are really pure scientists, that for this type of application, the scientific parts of the application needs to be good, of course, but this is not the only thing that needs to be good. Principally, there are also other aspects, non-scientific aspects that you need, where you need really to have good arguments to convince the reviewers and to get the funding. The application process makes the application process fairly to be quite tedious, and fortunately enough, as a Swiss, I could not be the coordinator, but I know from the coordinator he was working very hard, but he could get the support from a private company, and I think this was really helpful in polishing the application before we submitted it. And what I can also say, it was not always possible for me and or for the other partners to fulfill all the planned secondment. In the previous program, we also had, of course, the pandemic coming up, which was making the things a bit more difficult. But nevertheless, so this is something that can happen. But we also found ways, and if you don't spend all you if you don't fulfill all your secondment, of course you have to pay money back. But principally, this was okay. But this is something you have to be prepared for, and of course you have to justify why all the secondment cannot be fulfilled. And as I also told you, the salary you get for this staff exchange program is not that much, so you really need to have additional independent funding for, in particular, if you do a certain type of costly experiment in the wet lab, and also for supporting Swiss salaries, which are much higher than the European standards. And what I would also recommend you to you, we didn't have any issues with the partner that came over, which was really lucky, but I have heard that this was not always the case for other consortia. So it's always better if you have secondment agreement, so like a written document when someone comes over to your lab, so that you have agreement on who is going to pay the extra wet lab costs, for instance, and how this is going to be regulated in terms of collaboration that might come up in your lab, and so on. Okay, this is all what I had to say on my side. As I told you, I have quite some expertise for the previous program, but for the current program, it's just started very fresh. So maybe in 1 or 2 years, I can tell you a bit more about how this turns out to be and whether this was really worth or just like a pure burden, but so far I can say it has been very good for the networking, and I was very lucky to find a group of active people, and so this has been quite good in terms of for scientific exchanges. So thank you very much.
We thank you, Philippe. This was really, yeah, we had some very valuable insights thanks to you. And I think I stop the recording now and we go to the question and answer session. And we still have, wait, I stopped the recording. We still have 27 people here and 0 questions in the question and answer box, meaning, I mean, it's my interpretation that your presentations were very clear and also quite entertaining. So I think